Hello and welcome to AR on AR. I'm Adam Rose and today we're going to be looking at some cool books on adventure racing. Okay, there are a bunch of publications out there which I think you should read. These ones I've discovered, and I'm going to start off with this one, Surviving the Toughest Race on Earth by Martin Dugard. He's written for publications like Sports Illustrated, GQ, Esquire. He's a marathon, he's a triathlete, he's a coach as well. And he started covering adventure racing from a journalist's point of view, and then he even got involved in some of the races himself. It was written some years ago. He looks at Raid Gauloise, he looks at Eco Challenge, and it's a really inspirational read from somebody who really knows how to write. Okay, when it comes to books on how to adventure race, one of the best books that I found on the subject was The Runner's World Guide to Adventure Racing, How to Become a Successful Racer and Adventure Athlete, and it's written by Ian Adamson. He was a member of, the top team in adventure racing, pretty much, the one to beat in the Eco Challenges, the Raid Gauloise, those kind of races back in the day. He doesn't adventure race anymore, but this book is great. It's got a lot of hints and tips, techniques, training programs, nutrition. It's a little bit dated because it was written, almost 20 years ago. So in certain things like mountain bikes, obviously he's not up to date with the latest mountain bike innovations, but it's a brilliant book, and I really, really recommend if you want a technical manual on how to adventure race, this is written by one of the best. Okay, another book, similar manual type thing, Adventure Racing, The Ultimate Guide, written by Liz Caldwell and Barry Siff. Also a great book, lots of color photos, really great technical manual as well, and it's got a foreword by Ian Adamson himself. So this could be another source of information of how to improve your technique. A book that's fairly recent on the scene is Checkpoint 25, Adventure Racing from New Zealand to the World. It focuses primarily on New Zealand, which many consider the birthplace of adventure racing. It features the Southern Traverse, things like that. It's a really great book written by Jim Robinson. He's reported on cycling, multi-sport, all sorts of things. He's won multiple awards. And yeah, this is a great book that covers races that are taking place today. Things like the God Zone, really, really popular race in New Zealand, or the Spring Challenge, which is a female-only race that takes place in New Zealand, very, very popular. Hundreds of teams enter. If you want a great, glossy kind of coffee table book, this is the business. Okay, not all the books are found in print form, in terms of not everything's on paper. I've got quite a few books that I've got on Kindle, and I'm going to start off with Lucky Legs by Steve Gurney, What I've Learned About Winning and Losing. Yes, that is the focus of the book, but it covers his background as an adventure racer, as a multi-sport athlete. I think he's won the Coast to Coast in New Zealand more than anybody else. He certainly had when he wrote this book at that time. And it's got some really dramatic stories in his life of adventure. And also, he's brilliant at capturing how to out-psych your opponents, the other teams. So yeah, I really, really recommend this book for the mental game of adventure racing, which I would argue is more important than the fitness, more important than the gear, more important than anything else, is the mental game. In one of his coast-to-coast attempts, he painted his kayak with a colorful, gooey liquid. It had absolutely no bearing on how well he kayaked, but he did this at the last minute, just before the race started. The other competitors saw what he was doing, and because he was the man to beat, it affected them mentally. Like, what does he just put in his kayak? What is that stuff? How is it going to make him faster? Where can we get it? What does it do? And he did it just to put a bit of pressure on his fellow competitors. So as a multi-sport athlete, as an adventure racer, a really, really great read. He has written other books on the subject, but that's the one that I've read. If you know adventure racing, you know who Nathan Firevai is, the most successful adventure racer ever, and captain of Team New Zealand that just won the Eco Challenge. So the name of the book is Adventurer at Heart, and it's an autobiography by Nathan Firevai. He is the elder statesman of adventure racing, I think it's fair to say, and this is a great insight into how he has been so successful. Okay, it came out a few years ago, really, really good read. follows his childhood all the way to the multiple podium finishes that he's had. Okay, the next book I have here is called Arthur, the Dog Who Crossed the Jungle to Find a Home, written by Mikael Lindnord. Mikael is a really accomplished adventure racer, podium finisher many times. If you might have seen this in the newspapers. He was racing with his team in Ecuador. They came across a dog. The dog followed them. He ended up adopting that dog and taking it back to Sweden. So, and if you haven't heard, this book is now being turned into a movie, which is apparently going to star Mark Wahlberg. So, a great book, an inspirational, humorous book about him and the dog, and about adventure racing at large. And then another book on technique, adventure racing. This is a South African book written by Lisa de Speville and Jacques Marais. Great photographs, and technical manual as well. Like the other books, covers navigation, nutrition, medical care, techniques, tactics. Yeah, a great read, another one to add to your library. And finally, the book I prize above all my other adventure racing books, The Thrill of Victory, The Agony of My Feet. This is a great inspirational read. It's a compilation of accounts by multiple teams, multiple adventure racers. Some chapters are only a single page long. Some chapters go into a great amount of depth about particular events or just about somebody's adventure racing career. And for those of you who followed the recent Eco Challenge on Amazon Prime, it even features a chapter by Marshall Ulrich of Team Stray Dogs with Mark Macy and Dr. Bob. So you even get the insight into what their history is. Okay, so it's a really inspirational read. It's the book I recommend to more people who want to experience the exhilaration, the excitement, the passion that people bring to adventure racing. Okay, that's my number one pick. Okay, so there's a lot of great books out there. I urge you to rush out, read them, devour them, pick them over, get the meat off the bones. There's so many ways that people can improve their adventure racing game. And you know, there's no need for you to learn all of those things from your own mistakes. You're never going to anyway. You may as well pick up the information from the best. Okay, thanks, bye.